welcome you to this very special interview with one of the senior IPS officers of Uttar Pradesh Police, additional DGP GK Goswami. He's heading the UP State Institute of Forensic Sciences, and he's an IPS officer of 1997 batch. He's one of the few IPS officers in the country who has achieved tremendous amount of who's had tremendous amount of achievements in the field of forensic science. He's an alumni of JNU, Indian Institute of Law, TIS, and NFSU, National Forensic Science University. He's been an additional DGP of ATS. He was heading the anti-terrorism squad of the UP Police. He was joint director of CBI for 7 years. He's been a recipient of several awards and medals. Most recently, he became the first Indian to get DSc in Forensic Science degree from the National Forensic Science University. He's also been a Flex Award winner, Fulbright Nehru Academic and Professional Studies Scholarship. He's an honorary professor of law in NFSU and Rashtriya Raksha University. Welcome to this interview, sir.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ujjwala, and it's my privilege to interact with the audience, and I will try to do my level best to communicate various nuances of forensic science and law. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Sir, we would like to first start with you about your journey. You've had an illustrious career in the IPS and the UP Police. You are a forensic expert that all of us know. Tell us about your journeys.
Well, Ujjwala, my journey starts from a village. It is about 70 kilometers from Delhi in the district Meerut of Uttar Pradesh state. The name of my village is Alipur Alampur. I studied in the rural area up to class 12th. I was a science student. Then I did my graduation and post-graduation in science, particularly in drug chemistry. Somehow, I got to know when I was in Meerut in a hostel. In fact, in that hostel, their name was Tyagi Hostel, although it is a very defamed hostel for various activities. But let me tell you that people were very cordial with me, and I was a quite bright student. And despite being from the village area, people were knowing because my father was a teacher, and I was always a very good academic background. So despite being from the village background, wherever I go, people were very cordial and having shower a lot of love and affection towards me. So that way I was lucky. And then I went to Meerut for my studies, as I mentioned. And when I was studying there in the hostel, 2 Iranians were staying. They informed me, rather they brought one application form for JNU. Till that level, I was not aware about any civil service or anything. My dream was to become a scientist because chemistry was my very, interesting subject. It was my, you can say, first love with this subject because of very good teacher I got in my high school standard. Okay. So at that point of time when I was doing my master's, I qualified GATE and I got admission in IIT Delhi for master's again for MTech. Meanwhile, I qualified for JNU test as well. So people suggested me to join JNU and I landed there. And in fact, in School of Life Science, I started my research work. And there only I got to know about civil service. So this was my first interaction about the knowledge of this service. The problem with the urban area, although I want to convey few things to the rural students, particularly because of my own experience, that there are a lot of brilliant students, boys and girls, but because of so many inhibitions, because of lesser exposure, because of ignorance of various things, they are not aware what they can achieve and they can do. The major problem with the rural people, most of the time I have observed, and I also suffered with the same syndrome, is the language. Normally, we believe from the rural background, when we enter to the bigger cities, their our demeanor, our bearing is not matching to them. Our clothing sometimes, how people are smart, but I'm talking about 3 decades back. So that time there was a kind of inhibition. I don't say the inferiority complex, but there was some inhibition. So the language is a problem. I want to tell to the folk here that language is only a medium, my dear friends. You need not feel any superiority or inferiority because of your language. But you must have good command on your language. Even if it is Hindi, Punjabi, or whatever regional language you have, you want to write language, any language. Okay, English always have some advantage, no doubt, because you get a lot of literature. Sometimes, your English give you a lot of impetus and importance and preferences sometimes. But it does not mean that if we do not have the right from the beginning very good background, that does not mean we cannot learn. So with time you can learn. So never get indulged into this. You can take your subject medium or your language medium of exam, say UPSC or state service exam, or any bank exam. Nowadays, every exam almost have the at least bilingual facility, English as well as Hindi minimum, right? So don't go for that. That is number one. Then I came to JNU, as I mentioned, and there I started research work. And because I was lucky, although I studied in primary school where there was no building at that point of time, and in the villages the resources are limited, but the quality of teacher I must appreciate that till date I happens to study in most of the very elite institution of India, as well as I visited abroad also. I have gone to Cornell as a Fulbright scholar and all. I never find any inferiority as far as the subject knowledge goes. So I salute my teachers, despite they were from rural background, but the quality of teaching what they have taught us was fabulous. So we should not believe or we should not trap into this thing that only English school or only some very hi-fi type of institutions give only good education. So the teacher must have that kind of exposure to the student. That is one. Then I again came back to my background. My father met an accident in 1990s. So because I was the eldest son in the family, I have to come back to home because we were the farming family and we were dependent on agriculture, though my father was teacher, but those days were very different. And because of various reasons or whatever, about 3 years, my father could not get salary because he was sick, and totally we were dependent and a lot of expenditure were there. So my study was completely at halt. So 3 years I was at home to serve my family. I was the eldest son. My sister was younger. Two of my brother were younger, and they were just in the class 8, 9, 10 type, like below high school. So, but the bright thing happened at that point of time. I always say that in any dark phase, you have some bright line also. So never get depressed. Okay. So I just somebody suggested me that time the state civil service exam, the prelim was introduced first time. And mind me, my subject was very good, as I told. Chemistry was even till date. Chemistry seems to be very easy for me. So I wrote prelim and I qualified because of my good subject. GS must be very average, but anyway. And I finally qualified for mains and interview for civil service, state service. So I got hold at least having a good service in my hand. And later, not only I did my PhD, but I prepared for civil service and qualified for this. So here the tagline is that you must strive towards excellence. Never stop your until unless you achieve the highest goal. That is my advice to the younger lot, that whenever complacency sometime, let us stop our excellence. So never get trapped into it. So this is my journey to that extent. Then when I was DIG, I was having good understanding of law since beginning, because logic is the thematic area of law. I keep writing the whatever comes for the High Court replies or and all. So I have some interest. Somehow I got motivated when I was DIG to do LLB. And I did LLB in 2011 when I was about to go to United Nations on deputation. I got deputation for UNODC. I completed, I secured highest marks. I was the gold medalist in LLB in Lucknow University. It's a very big university. So that was booster. Then I did my LLM being in UNODC, and I again secured highest marks. I did my second PhD from Tata Institute of Social Science, and latest I did this DSC, and I became the first at the globe to get this DSC, that is postdoctoral doctor of science in forensic science and law. What I mean to say, these degrees are not much material for neither it helped me to get any job. I am already in service, right? Nor it get any promotion. Why this is helpful, right? Because when you systematically study any dissertation or something like, say, for example, I went for Fulbright for a research work, Innocence project. It's a very good project. Basically, deal with if suppose a person who is innocent and get convicted for various reasons, how to bring justice to them. That's a very good, initiative started in United States in 1992 after DNA entered spectacularly in the courtroom, right? So what I mean to say that learning is a continuum process, my dear friend. Never get stop it. I don't say that you do degree, you do PhD, but at least enhance your knowledge wherever you are. And knowledge is the key. Knowledge is the power. And today I may be very good, but what about after 10 years? What about 20 years? Am I relevant at that point of time? So this complacency should not stuck to your mind, and you should strive towards excellence. And I think knowledge and learning are the two things which always be your life partner. So this is how my journey goes, and I really enjoyed. And police is my, again, very, I always say that if there is any rebirth, I want always to be a cop, but reading cop.
A reading cop, yes.
Yes.
So
Not a
you
danda
set
wala.
up, yeah, not the danda. Like the Prime Minister said in yesterday's DG and IG conference, day before yesterday, to be specific, that police should now, introduce themselves with data. They should be known for data and not for danda. So, very rightly put, sir.
Thank you.
So you set up the UP State Institute of Forensic Sciences, and you are heading the Forensic Institute now. So tell us about the role of this institute.
You see, this is quite interesting story, and I must congratulate my government also, and especially my honorable CM, the commitment the government has, right? Already you must be aware that our honorable Prime Minister, when he was the honorable Chief Minister of Gujarat, his vision was wide at that point of time, and he initiated the first university in 2008 called Gujarat Forensic Science University, Gandhinagar, right? Later, it was converted into National Institute of Importance, and now it is National University, NFSU, National Forensic Science University, the same GFSU converted into it, right? With the same vision, right? Our state has also initiated the university, but subsequently, it has been decided by MHA and the government in Uttar Pradesh that having the same kind of pedagogy and the syllabus for forensic science and other allied subjects. So the NFSU, Gandhinagar, will be an umbrella university and other institute will be there. So our university, which was conceived, now got the status of institute and affiliated with NFSU. It is located on around 50 acre of land close to Amosi in Lucknow. It's a beautiful building. Coming up, almost 90-95% work has been done. We have initiated 5 courses from August last year, and from the next academic session, we are going to launch it in a big way. The master's graduation course in forensic science, then computer science, engineering, and law. And particularly, we are introducing BSc Forensic Science LLB 5-year integrated course, which is unique globally. No other institution is providing such type of combo for forensic science. And as I mentioned already, and I am staunch supporter and advocating this argument that law without forensic science is incomplete, and vis-a-vis forensic science without basic knowledge of law is incomplete. So they are synonym, not synonym, but complementary and supplementary to each other. So this is the objective, and the government of Uttar Pradesh is committed to provide education world class level. Because I had my interest, I had more than about 7 dozen of paper articles, 4-5 books to my credit, and a lot of commitment to forensic science and law. And I went on Fulbright. When I came back and I met my honorable CM after returning from United States, he told me, or he discussed with me, that he wants to give me this responsibility. So, frankly speaking, I was very happy. Though in police, generally, academic is not taken in a very right spirit, generally, right? But because this is of my interest and taste, so I was happy. And now we are trying to build under the guardianship and advice of the government. It is a world-class facility. And understand, and I want proudly to mention that our course of PG diploma for cyber security, IIT Kanpur is holding hand. IIT Delhi is also interested to support us. Very soon we are having MOU with various prestigious institutions like TIS. It is already done. Then with Toxicological Research Center in Lucknow, then IIT Kanpur, IIT Delhi, IIT Lucknow, and many more. So we want to build this institution not only as an education center, but the high standard, high power, research center, which has the global, standards for research work. So this is how. And secondly, the fee structure is very, very reasonable, so that even the last person of the society may get entry. But it is very difficult to get entry because examination is very tough. We have a limited seats and we have very strict discipline, very disciplined institution, so that the person whosoever enter into it must be ensured that he will get a job or will be an entrepreneur. We are making them to become entrepreneur rather than seeking for job, right? So this is the broad objective of the institute. And I invite the parents sometime after February or March to visit our institute and to have a feel that what world-class facility we are providing, such a wonderful hostels, wonderful teaching classes, smart classes, then world-class labs and whatnot. So everything we have world-class designed in our institution. Yes.
So speaking of forensic sciences, how has it worked in the new age policing these days? How is it aiding the police, especially the UP police? And what more do you think should be done to use forensic sciences in today's new age policing?
This is a very pertinent and very vital question. What is the role of forensic science actually in not only in criminal justice system but even in civil matters, like, say, for example, paternity determination. If you remember that famous Rohit Sekhar versus ND Tiwari case in 2012, that was very, heading the newspapers and all, right? And here I want to just to mention one thing, that our institute had introduced one online free of cost, awareness program, basically on YouTube. So people who are interested may subscribe the channel. It is The Director Speaks is the name, and there various topics of law, forensic science, and other things, like, say, for example, you want to know about the FIR. So what is FIR? And how it is at length has been discussed, not only for teachers, for students, for people who are writing the exams of different kinds, so they can get advantage. So this is the purpose actually to spread awareness. So this is point one. Secondly, as you rightly mentioned, that what is the role of forensic science in criminal justice system? So, my dear friends, you understand. I will take 2 to 3 minutes to make it clear that you understand one trilogy of justice, truth, and evidence. And this is the motto of our institutional logo also. If you see our logo, these three words I have designed: justice at the top, at the another corner of the triangle is truth, and the third corner it is evidence. Justice is the very, very important attribute of society. If somebody asks me the single attribute necessary for a society, it is justice. Why? Because every dispute is the cause of feeling that I have suffered with injustice. Why we quarrel with our neighbor? Why we quarrel within family? So, feeling of injustice, that feeling may be right or wrong, it may depend. But that sense of injustice is the root cause. So, if we want peace and tranquility in society, justice should prevail. There should not be ideally scope for any injustice. But how to reach to justice? By going to truth behind the fact. But both truth and justice, these are abstract identities. There is no quantification. So, what quantify it? What give it the credibility or the tangibleness? It is evidence. So, evidence is the root cause, how to reach out to truth. And then you can deliver justice. So, the path becomes like evidence, then truth, and then justice. So, these three angles are important. Now, let us see what evidence is. Normally, we depend on oral testimony, whether it is an eyewitness or otherwise any oral testimony by any other witness. But might again that human being may suffer with so many anomalies. Like I may be having some kind of enmity with somebody and I may depose falsely. I may understand some facts wrongly. Sometimes I may be under pressure as a witness. So these anomalies may create a lot of challenges and ultimately there may be a chances of miscarriage of justice. Meaning thereby that if we are totally dependent on oral testimony, then there are likelihood of injustice in the judgment. Okay, how to corroborate? I'm not saying that you remove completely the oral testimony, but oral testimony needs some kind of corroboration. And for that purpose, forensic science provide you neutral, scientifically aided, having high probability evidence. So that is the role of forensic science, that if you have the proper use with proper technology, without any kind of fraud or manipulation, because there are chances of manipulation also. Science never tell a lie, but man behind can do any wrong. That has to be very well taken. We cannot shut our ear and eyes thinking that science, whatever we are producing results, is always gospel truth. You have to have a very strong procedures behind every mechanism. So if the forensic technology are being used properly, there are proper sampling being done with adequate procedure adopting, then this corroboration will certainly enhance the perfectness in justice. And that is the role of forensic science.
Absolutely.
I hope I have made it clear.
Very well put, sir. Sir, you also promote the use of DNA in courtroom evidence, DNA in courtroom evidence. So tell us more about it.
Yes. Let me tell you one more thing, which is very important to understand what exactly we do in our courtroom or by investigation. Basically, when we are contesting in a court, most of the time in courtroom or during investigation, what we are focusing? We are focusing to have correct human identification. I will qualify my sentence. How? Suppose we are investigating about a victim. The victim may be a child, maybe of 2 year, 1 year, or may have some, speech impairment, maybe having some mental, incapacity. Okay, maybe adult or minor, whatever. So you have to have a proper identity of that person, right? Likewise, if you get a dead body, even if the face is identifiable, but there is nobody to identify, sometimes the face may be depleted, maybe body may be petrified, or deliberately there may be the head may be chopped off, or maybe defaced, or you may get bone. So from the victim side, the correct identification is very, very important. So this is one side. Another side of the accused, even if it is a named FIR, you have to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that this is the person who is responsible for committing the crime. So linkage in crime with criminal beyond reasonable doubt is also a kind of human identification, right? And DNA is the best technology till date for the purpose of human identification. Why we do fingerprint? So that we can connect the person with crime. Why we do for voice sampling? Why we go for signature writing, matching, right? Why we go for blood testing, right? So all these things actually help you to find the correct person to whom you are searching. And DNA is the best technology because the error rate, and I want to mention the importance of error rate. Most of the time, unfortunately, our forensic expert, because of ignorance, boast very high about their technology, even in the court. And again, it is unfortunate story, but a truth that because of, I don't say ignorance, but lesser knowledge of forensic science, particularly the inside story, the metadata, the hand notes of the report. What generally we do in the courtroom, we generally read the conclusion of the forensic report. But how they reach to that conclusion, that is very, very important part. But because our court, our judges, they are not well trained to understand that process, that is why they do not look at it. So error rate is very important point. But in DNA, the error rate is very, very low compared to other technology. And that is why DNA has a great significance in human identification, particularly for body offenses. So DNA is a boon at present for various criminal cases.
Since we mentioned about the Fulbright scholarship, you went to US and you came up with one of your favorite research. We can say that is Project Innocence. So tell us about this project.
Prior to Innocence project, I just want to tell because a lot of people ask me about Fulbright. There are a lot of bright people to get Fulbright, and they should be encouraged, and not only officers but from different fields. And it is not only Fulbright fellowship available, Chevening and various other fellowship, Commonwealth fellowship and all. And I really promote and say that not only police officer or administrative officer, but from media, from other teaching faculty and various other domain, lot of fellowships, scholarships are available. We should avail them. I gave one talk, and you can hear it on my that internet, what I mentioned about YouTube, the 4I. That was 4E basically. So, and I just repeat on your channel also, that for a successful career or for a successful person as a whole for a longer period of time, 4E are very important. One is education, another one is experience, the third is the exposure, and fourth is the ecosystem. And if you want to add the fifth also, it is excellence. So these five, if you have a combination of these five E, you will be a very successful person. Successful does not mean that you have very big bungalow or something, right? Successful means the eternal, achievements. And this combo of these five will make you different, right? So that exposure part is very important when you meet people across. Because what we do here, say for example, I am a policeman. I believe or I may have this feeling, oh, this method what we are doing is the perfect one. But when we go to different people, especially the other countries, we tend to see, oh, there are other ways also. We can do the same thing in different manner, and maybe that manner may be a better one also sometimes. So that kind of exposure is really very, helpful and valuable for our personality development, our delivery system, and whatnot. So these type of things should be available. So when I was in CBI in 2018, precisely, I was inclined to do or to get Fulbright fellowship. I applied. By that time,
Okay.
I did my second PhD from Tata Institute of Social Science, and my subject was how to utilize DNA for sexual offenses. So DNA was my favorite subject because when I was studying in JNU, our teachers were a world-class teacher in that field, and I could not tell about the historical part of DNA, how it entered into the courtroom, but it was in 1984 when DNA fingerprint was coined by Professor Alex Jeffrey. And in 1985 and 86, there are growth, how it entered, right? So I had a fair idea and fair experience of DNA. Okay. So with that background, when I was studying, I came across Innocence Project, and I was very much fascinating because being a police officer, I always had some feeling that many a times there are a lot of people who have been wrongly implicated, and everybody says that in many cases the innocent people are being implicated for various personal vendetta or various reasons, right? And sometimes because of faulty and fake evidence, even the innocent people get convicted.
Yes.
Although there is no data, it cannot be supported, but no jurisdiction can claim it that we do not have this kind of anomaly. And why I'm saying this, that UK, US, the other developing country which are considered far superior than many in their criminal justice system, there are thousands of people have been found, those who have not been punished, not have been convicted, but they are being hanged, and subsequently it is found that they were having issue since beginning, they were innocent. So nobody can claim, including us, that we do not have such type of issues. Although we have not quantified, we have no research to quantify that how much problem we have, but we certainly have. So having this background in my mind, I opted for this, and I was lucky because this segment of flex, I became the first person again here to get this segment in legal studies. And why I opted it, I tell you, because I was in CBI. Other option was Humphrey. Humphrey was like a master's. I did my PhD, two-time PhD. So I thought, what is the fun of going for master's at this stage? And secondly, for masters, you need to have, I think, about 1 year time. 1 year time. So I was joint director in CBI. I was fully aware that my seniors, especially my director general or director of CBI, will not permit me for 1 year to leave the organization. So I opted for this Flex Award. Although I was knowing that nobody has got it till date, but I took a chance, and I must say that God was kind, and I got it. I went to Cornell, and from there I visited several universities and have a lot of interaction in different capacities. I taught also a few classes there. I attended various classes, met even Supreme Court judges, and it was a phenomenal experience. So what I mean to say, I had opportunity to long interview for almost half day and sometimes full day for about 12 such type of people who were actually on death row. Death row means they were being convicted for death, but somehow their execution were not performed. By then, DNA and other technology they were used, and they were found innocent. So Innocence Project in India has not yet started, but I do believe as a common man, as a law student, as a police officer, that we should start talking about it, and we should start in phases so that we can also get benefit. Because after United States, although in the beginning there were a lot of resistance, because the person who initiated it, Professor Barisek is my mentor. He actually introduced me to various stakeholders and various experts. So he, when was discussing about his own experience, he was telling that in the beginning, for about 5-7 years, he faced a lot of stiff, resistance from judiciary and different corners. I know it is not that easy in India as well, but I think, being a very sensitive matter, we should take this call, and gradually and sincerely we should adopt such type of models in our country also.
So you have been also delivering lectures on POXO and other an awareness program of the Institute of Legal Studies. So could you tell us a little about it?
See, the POXO Act was introduced in India on 14th November 2012, and 14th November is Children's Day. And the background was that we are the signatory of Child Rights Convention of United Nations, which was introduced in 1989, right? So it was the basic requirement that we should segregate our child sexual abuse law from the rest of the rape jurisprudence, right? Otherwise, earlier, the same, there was no difference between adult or the minor as far as the rape or sexual abuse is concerned. So the beautiful part of POXO is that the term rape has been removed. It is now the rape is replaced by the term called uh, sexual abuse of penetration, right? So the term penetration is used, okay? And so many other things are introduced. There are special provisions, right? Special provisions in the sense, special POXO judge is there. The dedicated POXO prosecutor is there. There is the presumption also in favor of the child. Child has to be protected. Its witness, how to have the testimony. There are certain, guidelines. There are so many, silver lines in that, and the timeline is also there. But one important point which is still missing is how to determine age of the child. This is still not been taken into consideration, and this very issue was raised in 2013 itself in a case in Joginder Singh versus State of Haryana, very popular case. And when the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court, observed that there is no provision written in POXO, although there is a provision where, in such cases where there is a dispute on age, who will decide it? It is the magistrate or it is the court. But how it will decide, the procedure is not laid down. So then, in that case, Joginder Singh versus State of Haryana, 2013 Supreme Court. In that case, the Honorable Supreme Court said that until and unless there is a special provision laid down by the Parliament in POXO Act, we will utilize Rule 12 of JJ Rule 2008. Now, the JJ Act has been repealed, and the new JJ Act 2015, which has been introduced or implemented in 2016, its section 94 has the same, procedure. So now we are using that section 94. But my humble request is that we should have the proper provision in the POXO Act itself. Then there comes the compensation. A lot of money has been given by the government. Say, for example, Nirbhaya Fund. Nearly 4,000 crores were being allotted at the first go, and later on. Still, people are unaware, and hardly there is a mechanism in place. I'm not saying that nobody is giving compensation, but there should be a proper mechanism for compensation. Likewise, that in the POXO Act also, the compensation to the victim or to the victim family must be ensured. Not only that, their rehabilitation, their education, and another point with the POXO, which I observed in my research while I was doing this for my DSC. My DSC, topic is on POXO actually. How to utilize forensics evidence in POXO cases. This was my research topic. So what I observed, and very important to mention here, that many times the children are being abused by the known person within the family, the relatives, the neighbors. That is called acquiescence rape, or you can say acquiescence sexual abuse, you can say. So the children are the girl, and one another point about POXO is it is asexual. It is equally applicable to male as well as female child. So does not have the about like 376 will be applicable where the victim is female. Otherwise, if victim is male, then it will be 377. So this is the difference. Okay. But here, in case of minor, it is irrespective of gender. Okay. So this is one point important. The point I want to make, that compensation should be ensured. That is another point. And various other point also I can mention, but because of paucity of time, because POXO itself is a very big topic, but I think so many other means issues must be like there is a provision that during entire proceeding, the child should never be interacted with the accused, right? Because accused is generally acquiescence within the family. And one more point I want to add, that multiple times the girl get impregnated because there are repeated sexual assaults on her. And one more point, that the body, because the girl does not know in that age that she got impregnated, so the detection of pregnancy is very late. And I have seen in my research that multiple girls, they were forced to deliver a child in a very tender age of 12 years, 13 years, because the pregnancy is at a very advanced stage. Because after 24 weeks of the pregnancy, then even the High Court has to take advice of the medical board. And because the child is very weak, very young, very young, very toddler, not toddler, of course, the very age of 12 year, 13 year, 11 year. So at that stage, it is difficult to abort. So they generally say that let it be in full capacity, whatever, and then. So you see, at age of 13 or 14 or 12, a girl is delivering a child. So this is a very, very sensitive. And one more point, which is also to be noted, that in my research, I have examined the High Court and Supreme Court judgment right from 2012 till 15th June of 2020, right? So there were more than 4,400 cases which I examined in detail, and that research exposed that in those cases where a mother bring a child, girl child of age 7, 8, 10, and go to another husband, right? So the stepfather generally start abusing the stepdaughter at the age of around 10, 11. And most of the time they get impregnated, and many a times the detection is very late, and there are miserable stories I have recorded in my research. So where the girl child have the stepfather, please, they are very vulnerable, and we should do something for such type of girls. Another point which I want to make, not only for the girl child, but for even for any rape case, that medical examination, we only examine the body from the evidence point of view. But in my viewpoint, for every rape victim, there must be a pregnancy test after 2 months or 3 months time, so that she should not carry that pregnancy. There are cases where the medical test was conducted, but because the pregnancy test was never been conducted at that stage, it is too early. So they were being impregnated because of that rape incident, and then it was difficult for detection. So this pregnancy test should also be made compulsory, of course, with the choice of the girl, the consent of the girl, right? So these are some suggestions.
Right, right. Sir, I would like to ask you one last question on the organized crime. You have worked a lot on the organized crime sector too, where basically you've You've done some notable investigations. You were also involved in encountering a very noted criminal. The UP police has been doing path-breaking work when it comes to gangs and gangsters. They've brought some most stringent laws in the country, most stringent action in the country. So could you tell us what more is required in a state of UP where this organized crime sector, you can nip the bud of this organized crime sector?
Yeah, well, I'm happy that you have appreciated our police work, especially our ATS and STF. They are both twin agencies and they are doing excellent job under the
Yeah,
leadership of
they
the
are.
yeah. But let me tell you, not only for UP, what I'm going to tell is almost a universal phenomena, not only for India but across, because organized crime has some imprint which are common irrespective of jurisdiction, right? There are so many things to talk about, but because of the interest of time saving, I will focus on the investigation on financial transactions.
Hmm.
Basically, any organized crime cannot happen without any imprint of financial transaction. Whether it will be a crime proceed to transfer from one person to another, or there may be the money transaction for committing crime, for organizing people, maybe for organizing resources, organizing or arranging some weapon or any other method, whatever. So money is the key. And if you have money trail and you get that money trail into investigation. So nowadays, what I mean to say that financial investigation of organized crime is the key and it is the next generation for investigation of organized crime. People are doing, I'm not saying that, but still we need to have more implementation or more usage of AI in this field. And I am looking into UPSF, this is one of our target for research, that how we can assist our police force who are combating with organized crime to give them tool which can make the easy access or easy pathway where the money trail can be traced. And I tell you very important example of my tenure in as the chief of ATS UP. There are several cases we conducted because ATS work is like searching a needle from the ocean, right? The people are sitting across the globe and they may be committing crime. So it is a very patientful and very, you can say, a very challenging task this organization keep doing, not only in UP but across country and abroad, whosoever dealing with the international, activities and all, right? So what we found in my experience, because I experimented to some extent this thing in CBI, but here I utilize in full bloom. Although I don't claim that it is on full bloom because there are still chances to develop more. We introduced one cell called economic analysis wing.
Okay.
Economic analysis wing, and the results were phenomenal. I cannot give the name of the case, but you see, once you get trail, then you find so many linkages that sometimes you feel that how many criminal we have to catch just just from one bank account. I give you one example, very simple, although it has no connect because I'm just giving you example. We were having this human illegal immigrants in India, and particularly coming to UP and all. I don't want to give the name who they were. You just consider them illegal immigrant coming to UP. Okay, so we caught few of them, and they were actually being transported to other country. So India was transit for that case, that they came to in UP, then they converted and they changed their name and make their passport and other things built, right? So we got one or two information of this kind. So we just it was in Kolkata. The passport was built in Kolkata. So we sent just some information in Kolkata to collect. Okay. Meanwhile, we actually took bank account of the person from where the money was transacted, because in passport you have to pay some money, about 14,000 or some amount is there, right? So when we analyze the bank account of that criminal or the person who was suspect, I could see about nearly some 45 transaction of the same amount. That means that in nearly 4 or 5 days, around 45 people were undergone the same process. So now,
Running around.
on the one case, we have about 45 cases in our hand just by having one entry. Okay, so this type of thing. So not only we could trace our own cases, but we have sent a lot of information to other state also, that you can look into these type of transactions, and we have found this type of cases, because we cannot see everything. So many information keep flowing. You can't even imagine the workflow, right? So this is a very, very good tool. And if any police officer is listening me here, probably they may appreciate what I want to convey. Maybe a common man may not understand the terminology I am using here, but for a policeman, especially indulging into high ticket investigation, maybe CBI, ED, or ACB, anti-corruption, or any organized crime, this tool is very good. And I believe, as a academician, as law student, as a police enforcer, that financial investigation is the next generation tool in the hands of law enforcement agency. Yes.
Right, right, sir. Sir, you have shared lot of your experiences with us, lot many case studies, research points, and especially your details about Project Innocence. And I very rightly put, sir, that this project should be replicated somewhere here in India, because India really requires the expertise that you have brought in. So thank you so much for talking to us, sir, and sharing your views, sharing your expertise with us. And again, congratulations for your FSU achievement, for being
Thank
the first global.
Thank you, everybody, for having patience listening. And any questions if you have, and I again repeat that if you get time, please subscribe our channel on YouTube, and a lot of information you will get pro bono. And we are continuously providing public awareness, actually is our motto. And with this, I congratulate you also to organize such a wonderful talk, Ujjwala. Thank you very much once again.
So much for talking to us. Thank you.